Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Marcus, Simone.
Hi, Alistair.
Have we still got Frank as well?
I think he will only appear today with his painting.
With his silhouette, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see where he's gone. Welcome everyone who's just joined us just now on Ransom Note this afternoon. We are going to be talking to Frank Wiedemann, Simone and Marcus from Keope, and we're going to be talking all things Bigamo Music, a record label of which we've been very fond, putting out loads of really interesting cool music, some left field stuff, experimental stuff, a lot of instrumentation involved, and it's all been really, really interesting. So yeah, I thought now would be a good idea to have a chat and pick things up from there. So how are we all, guys?
Pretty cool.
Good.
Let's start. Shall I start?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm actually very good, to be honest. I mean, I haven't had so much time with my family for years, so I just see this as a very long holiday at the moment. And I couldn't make any music so far because I was not in Berlin, not in the studio, and but I see it as a long holiday, so I'm very good, very relaxed actually for now. Let's see. And you guys?
I mean, I think I'm also kind of in this mode that Frank is. Not on holidays, also in Berlin. Even thought I spent 4 weeks outside of the city. We have a little cabin, and also because we have a daughter, and it was better to be outside, and that was really good. I think it was a good time to also reflect and some realizations that happened really after the last weeks. And as Frank said, I'm pretty optimistic, even though of course there's some concerning things always with this kind of situation, of course, but I'm also optimistic that there's good things coming out of this. Simone.
Should I say something? Yeah. Yeah, same here. I mean, nothing has really changed for me. Yeah, it's a bit like of a holiday maybe, but as I'm living in the countryside, so I've been living here for 5 years and a half now. So I cannot tell that anything has changed if I look out of the window. So it's pretty much the same for me. Yeah. The only thing is that I cannot cross the border because I'm in Slovenia right now, just on the border with Italy. So I used to go back and forth, and right now I'm stuck here. That's the only difference. But yeah, the funny thing is that I'm not making music either. It's I'm in the studio, but I'm not making music for some reason. I don't know.
And why do you think that is? Do you think it's you've just not
we
been...
were...
Sorry, why do you think that is? Do you think it's that you've just not been inspired, or there's been too much other stuff going on mentally, or?
Yeah,
I mean,
interesting. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, we were talking with Marcus the other day, and I realized that probably I'm missing human interaction, as you say. Maybe that's my inspiration, and it's strange because I didn't realize till this very moment. So
it's a very good point.
Yeah.
Very good point. I mean, I have to say, I spent some. I was not completely honest. I made some music, but it was more or less like finishing things, not creating. But from my side, I simply have no time because I have to take care of my kids because now there's no kita and stuff, you know. So my wife and me, we have to kind of give ourselves some hours in between, but it's really hard because she also has to work, and her work is a bit more urgent than mine. Mine is just art. And but I agree, Simone. It's interesting. It's an interesting aspect that making music with other people is actually a very nice thing, and that's basically what's almost the main rule for Bigamo releases. Basically, is to be able to connect with other people via music, and to play music with other people. and I miss this too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Frank, I mean, you're just releasing Howling stuff, so I think you're also having a lot of collaborations happening.
Well, that has been done a few moons ago. But yeah, it's the same thing here. Like, I mean, I rarely do, I don't know if you know, but I rarely do solo records because I really love making music with other people. And one of the main aspects for me in music is to speak via music, basically. You know, it's like, for me, it's a very important and deep thing. And a lot of my live shows are based on playing with other people, even improvising with other people. If it's with Henrik Schwarz for Schwarzman, or if it's with Howling, or if it's with Circle of Life, or with Matthew Johnson, whatever, it's always based on playing together. And I mean, Keope is the same thing, right? It's like based on being in one room and creating. And I think creating especially is very good if you have two people. I mean, I know there's many people out there who really like to create on their own and be in their crib and just do their thing, but I really enjoy it, and I find it very creative to be with other people in one room to create.
Yeah, definitely. But it's even more than that for me. It's just sometimes just to be with other people, maybe at a cafe. I realize that I'm missing that part. Just to be, I mean, to be to be alone somewhere else, maybe to be by myself, but surrounded by people. Sometimes it's very inspiring for me. I don't know, and I realize that I'm missing that part right now. And I'm playing.
It's funny, Simone, because you moved to the countryside. We talked about it recently, no? Because Simone, like on purpose, moved to the countryside from the city. And I had the realization actually through the last weeks that I'm longing a bit for countryside. I'm in the middle of Berlin, so the opposite. And Simone told me, I would maybe like to move to the city again. So I think it's both has its qualities, definitely.
Completely. Coming back to that point, Frank, about Bigamo music, I wasn't actually aware that it was kind of formed with collaboration and interaction in mind. Were there any other inspirations behind kind of getting the label off the ground in the first place? Did you want to try something different? What was the kind of vision there?
Well, I mean, it all started with the Fred and Luna release, and I think I would have. I mean, it all, like, he sent me stuff. You know, I know him, Rainer, for a very long time from my hometown, and I really liked it, and I tried to help him to release it because it was nothing for Innovisions, and I connected him with some labels, but he didn't want to do it, it just didn't fit, and then at the point I was like, okay, why don't I just do it? Because I have all the infrastructure in front of my studio door, like distribution and label management, and why should I not just make a label? Also because with Innovisions, I'm still part of it, but I'm not A&R because I don't do I don't DJ. So I don't really, after like 10 years playing live, I really lost a little bit the connection to that bit of what DJs really need, in a way. Might sound weird because I still make club music, but for me, I'm happy that Christian and Stefan, aka Dixon, doing these decisions. And but I had like some other friends also. I mean, I spoke with Marcus about it earlier, and he showed me his Keope stuff, and I was like, there's actually a lot of interesting electronic music around that is not necessarily club music. If there's a DJ can be brave, you can play it, but it's not meant to be club music, rather than home listening music. And that's and what I wanted to release on Bigamo is basically stuff that I love to listen to at home as well, but then be able to dance to it as well if I want to, you know. And I think actually now that we have these weird times when everybody's just at home, a lot of the Bigamo stuff could be perfect for your home because you can listen to it and dance to it. Isn't that amazing? So basically that was these two records I had in mind were the starting point for me to say, like, let's do this. and then after a while, it kind of carved out for me that it doesn't have to be like strictly, not strictly ambient or strictly African or whatever, or krautrock kind of things. Neither does it have to be strictly electronic. It just has to be kind of related to what we do. So let's say the Joram Feitzmer record, the piano record we put out last year is it's not electronic at all, but it has this kind of repetitive moves inside, which I really like, and I think also fit the whole situation. And it turned out, sorry for the long speech, it turned out that I actually want everybody on this label to be able to perform their stuff live.
Yeah.
Which because it's I'm so often in situations where there's only club music. Oh shit! I just see that I need to charge my phone. Not really well prepared. So that I really enjoy this like different moment when people, I see when people play live, it's a different atmosphere in clubs, even in clubs, and it has a more direct approach of like creating music in the moment or playing for the people, playing in that atmosphere. It's not just playing a record. So I really enjoy creating parties or festivals or whatever where people can listen to that electronic music, dance or not, but it's all live, it's all happening in the moment. Does it make sense for you?
Yeah, it does make sense.
And that's like the whole aspect of Bigamo, basically having something in times, when everything is getting very functional. Also, like a lot of the club music is too functional for me today, to be honest. And everything is about like being filmed and being there at the right party with the right pictures and the right Instagram post and stuff. And I'm enjoying this liberation of just playing music that I like and with friends that I like and nice people and performing it live in a way that it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be something, but it just catches you, like especially with these two guys here that I see on my little mobile phone. It's always the same when they start playing, like almost nobody knows them. And everybody like, what are these guys doing there with the table, the guitar and a synthesizer? And after like 5 or 10 minutes, everybody's dancing because they just get them together. And when we had when Joram played at the church at the Sacred Ground Festival last year, nobody knew his name, but everybody just passed by to the church and everybody was quiet, listened to the music, hanging around in the sun or in the church. Everybody just enjoyed this moment. And that's the thing, that's actually the main reason why I do music. It's not because of being on in a Ransom Note discussion.
No, I completely agree.
Sorry.
I completely agree. So from your guys' perspective, Keope's perspective, when you create music, I know that you're very much focused on recording stuff live, a lot of improvisation, and a lot of your music is written that way. Did you ever kind of approach it from the perspective by which it might encourage people to dance? Was it ever designed with a certain listening scenario in mind or anything else?
It's a good question, actually. I mean, we just a couple of days ago, Simone and I discussed when we first met. That was actually 2006 in Santiago de Chile, because I was touring with Matias Aguayo, my music partner back then, and Simone was living there, and we just randomly spent some days in a flat together, and we made the first track, and he told me it's exactly the same that we do now. So I think it just it just happens in the moment, as Frank said, and that's why we feel so comfortable with Bigamo and Frank, is that we also create something in the moment. It's a little bit prepared, of course. I mean, I'm more prepared because I have all these electronic tools. Simone really has a blank looper in front of him and can play his loops in the moment. And it's just happening. So we are both dancers. So I love dance music and rhythm. So it's my part of Keope. It's then danceable, even if there's maybe no kick drum. It's still a rhythm there. So I want to dance. And actually, to be honest, it makes me very nervous if people don't dance to my music. So I'm the worst DJ for bars or I mean, Frank did a DJ set in a art gallery or museum. I think I would stand on the table.
I saw that actually.
So I would play DJ there, of course, but I would dance while I DJ. And
you haven't seen all the employees from the museum.
They were all dancing.
Yeah. So you want to go? Sorry, you go, Simon.
No, it's interesting because it's as Marcus said, it's just the alchemy of the two. Because on the other side, if I play music by myself, it's definitely not danceable stuff. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I have to mention that Simone has this solo project, which is highly recommendable. It's his project is called Tony Brunner. And unfortunately, at the moment, nobody can join because he's playing normally live only. So that's right. It's a pity.
Which kind of brings me back to a bit about what Frank was talking about earlier, which I think is quite an interesting conversation. And obviously you've realized that so much of your musical inspiration kind of comes from working and collaborating with other people. Obviously at present, that's very hard. But do you think that the current situation has helped people to realize different ways of working, perhaps collaborating online? Is that something that you think would potentially work for you? Or does it all have to depend on being in the studio with someone or playing live with someone and kind of capturing that moment in the music which you actually make?
I think, if I might say this, I think this, for me, definitely is. I mean, I don't know how you two guys finish your albums, but for me, when I work with Rai especially, it's always about this moment in the studio to record and capture that. And then afterwards, we did a lot of already what we do now, like being on Skype, having all the music in Dropbox, and then play start on 1, 2, 3, 4, and then like, that bar is not good, has to change, and then somebody changes it, and then, so I think there's a lot of possibilities to finalize and arrange tracks or music in general online on a distance, because that's what I'm very used to actually. But the very moment of creating something, I think, I don't know, I haven't checked it, to be honest, because I couldn't. I have no studio here. My internet connection is just okay. And I think it needs really good tools. I mean, I read a lot about these new tools that are popping up at the moment, about people who, I don't know, like Tim Exile, I think, did something, right?
Endless.
And,
Endless, it's called.
Yeah. And I mean, these are all interesting aspects, and I know that Ableton, I think that they're thinking about doing something, or I think it's it's been planned for a long time that there should be like collaboration modes or something for all the software. I think Native also does the same, right? So that's the thing that will come. I don't know if it helps, but I'm open to try it.
It's funny, Frank, that you mention Tim Exile's Endless. I mean, I've been a friend with Tim for ages, and he has been developing Endless, I think, for 5 years or something.
Endlessly.
Endlessly, exactly. I think for him it was an endless process. Talk to him. But amazing guy, and it's funny that exactly at that moment he releases the app. It wasn't beta for, I had it 2 years ago or something, but right at the start of this situation right now, he dropped it. So funny that you mentioned it. I've never thought about it, but it's exactly the tool for these days. He made this, he always thought about how can you collaborate with everybody in the world together without being in the same place. But coming to the point, I mean, I think also for Keope, for us, for Simone and me, it's about being in the same room, recording the stuff, as Frank said, as it's for Howling. We have to be together, record it, and then we do the edits. So it's exactly the same. I do some edits, send it to Simone, and then we discuss something like the edits, and that's in the end product. So it's funny, it's like really the same. And I feel we discuss it often, very often with Simone, if there's maybe tools that you can make music at the same moment and over distance, of course, then it would be fine. But I think there's no technology right now where you have no latency, because you always have some latency, so it's not really working that you perform together. And that's, until this is not there, I don't see Keope making music via distance.
Yeah, it's also, I think it's a bit of the, I mean, something comes, I'm not a very esoteric person, but I think everybody brings something in a room with him, like personally. It's maybe that thing that they call aura or whatever, but it's definitely something. And these mixed up with other people's auras create something. I'm very sure of that. So I don't know. I mean, technology will help that a lot, but I doubt that it does the same thing. It's like you can have. I mean, I don't know if you ever had if you ever had a relationship on a long distance in the times of Skype already. It's the same thing. You can talk and you have a nice feeling maybe, but it's nothing compared to a real hug at the end, or a kiss or whatever, you know. So it's nice and handy, but it's not everything.
Yeah, completely.
Simone, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think it was a stupid joke, so don't worry.
Come on, we need jokes in these days.
So
I was thinking about an aura device that you can communicate with aura. No, but I was also thinking that music, it's not living just what you were saying, I think, Frank. Even if you don't want to be esoteric, it's just being together, have a cup of coffee again over there, hanging out a while. It's something about that. Even it's just, I don't know, being together. I believe that it's really leaving from that things too, and quite a lot, I would say.
So, and also the environment. Sorry, just to hug in here. I had another thought. It's also the environment where you're in, the surrounding. I mean, because it's also like one thing I realized now while we talk is, I mentioned Matias Aguayo. I was making music with him, and then he moved to Latin America, to Buenos Aires, and I was in Hamburg. And we realized after some time that the music that we made was completely different, and that came from the surrounding, because he, for example, was
each of you.
Yeah, when we tried to make music, but he was like, nah, I'm not interested in that stuff that you do, and I was also not interested in his stuff. I mean, I was interested, but it was not our music that we felt, and that's just the reason, because in Hamburg it was dark and raining, and I was in the studio doing the lab stuff, and he was on the streets of Buenos Aires because all the clubs were closed in that time because of a previous incident in the club. So they closed all the clubs, so they made parties outside with boom boxes, and of course on a boom box you cannot play rhythm and sound or like what other deep techno track, because it would just not work. So his rhythms changed completely also, because they had to adapt to the surrounding, and suddenly he made like completely different rhythms.
Well, also you guys, as I remember, you recorded in places where there's probably no internet at all, so you could not connect this. Right. And I mean, I have the same thing here basically, where I am I'm also at the countryside. And I just bought this thing, which is internet, but I didn't have internet here for like just on my phone, and it was okay because I didn't feel the urge to be connected all the time, and it actually helped a lot to relax and decelerate when you don't have internet all the time. Now I need it because I have to work from here, but yeah.
Is that something which you've noticed has kind of come about as a result of this situation? Because I've spoken to quite a lot of people, and they've also found this, that there has been a degree of freedom coming through the fact that everybody is kind of in this position, and that there is sort of less, I mean, creativity is obviously restrained by this, but at the same time, being isolated kind of gives people the chance to actually think about themselves, probably give themselves more time, pay attention to things which are close to home, etc. Is that something which you guys have found and kind of attached onto?
Totally.
Totally.
Simone,
Yeah.
you not so much, right? But Simone?
He fell asleep.
Oh.
No, is that there are dropouts. So
No,
everything when we
definitely.
drop out. So I was trying to. Sorry.
Yeah, but yeah, to answer your question, I think totally it's definitely a moment where you slow down even more and do stuff you would never do. I mean, I think I did one of the most popular things right now. I started baking my bread, and Simone is my teacher because he's been doing it, of course, since 5 years, since he left in the countryside. But I started doing this stuff because this was never possible before. And on the other hand, it's the same as we talked about previously. I didn't do so much music in the beginning. Honestly, I was doing a lot of stuff here, preparing for Keope, like changing live setup, etc., getting like a valve mixing desk from a friend, and then it slowed down completely, and I rather listened and read a lot of books instead of doing so much stuff. So maybe it's funny because Frank has the same and Simone has the same. I don't know, Ali, if you've talked to more artists about that. I also heard different stuff from other people. I spoke to Toto Chiavetta on Monday evening, and he's in Sicily and he's constantly making music. So he's the opposite. He's just making music the whole day.
Yeah,
but he said also nothing changes there because, yeah, I don't know. Sicily seems to be super relaxed anyway. So it doesn't matter if there's lockdown or not.
I guess it depends on where you are. I mean, if I would have had no kids here and a studio, I would probably also do constantly music, but I just have no time for it. And but I have the same with I was talking with Rampa Gregor last week, and he just delivered a remix for us in a day. So I think he had some time.
I feel like it's kind of divided people. Some people have either been super creative and really focused. Kind of.
I mean, if I look at Steffen again, Dixon, he put so much effort into making the stream that he did last or 2 weeks ago, where he's been underwater and stuff, and it's some people really use that moment as a challenge to, I think, to create something new and take this as an opportunity to create something. And for me, it's more the opposite. I'm shutting down myself almost. Like I'm really into family life, and I mean, I have not done one stream yet. You're the first stream, but it's not live music. It's just a talk. And yeah, I don't know. I actually enjoy it being for myself. Like I'm not for myself, but I spoke to a lot of people who having that same thing that you said, Marcus, that we had this chat a couple of days ago, that you have a lot of time to think about the situation. And I, for myself, found out that I probably don't want to tour that much anymore in the future, because I enjoy it. And I spoke with a lot of like colleagues, actually, they so much enjoy not being on airports and in hotels, just don't fuck up their biorhythm every day, basically. It really helps, I mean, especially when you're a bit older. And I enjoyed so much having time for my kids, and I hope they enjoy it too. And for sure, I need to work at a certain point. I for sure, I also really I miss the party, and I miss clubs and the dust and everything, and I miss playing music. But I don't miss the traveling at all. So I might concentrate on doing more studio work, and if that's the conclusion of all that, then I'm okay.
There's been a lot of talk about that in terms of traveling and how the music industry might change off the back of this in regards to environment, whether it's really necessary for DJs and artists to tour all the time, whether we should be focusing on sort of people who are at home making music.
Can I be very honest with you for a moment? I think there's a lot of parties, and I'm earning money from that.
Yeah.
Also, but there's a lot of parties around these days where I don't know why the people are actually going there, because they just, and it's not about the party, it's about the people, and that's what I said with the taking pictures and stuff. They're not there for the music, they're just there for being there in a way, because they heard it's good to be there. And if something if I wish something that is could be the best conclusion for the whole scene that we're having and that we all love, is if that goes back to a more normal situation when it's not about the hype, it's not so much about who is there and who's playing and blah blah blah. It's more about, I know this is a great place, I go there and I know we're gonna have a good time. So I miss that, like, and I hope it goes back to that. Yeah,
completely. What do you guys think about that? Because I mean, I know that that's been a big subject of conversation for a lot of people, and a lot of people have been hoping and thinking for the same thing.
Simone, go ahead.
Is that for some reason, when Alistair is talking, there are dropouts, guys. So some of you should translate for me. I mean, repeating what he's saying. I'm sorry, man.
Don't worry.
So yeah, I can comment on that. I'm with Frank. I mean, we're not playing so much as Frank, of course. Like with Keope, we played great shows last year, and we really enjoyed that playing live. So I also miss that a lot, and I miss also seeing Simone. Actually, it's a big issue because we can't meet, and I would love to make music. And as we just concluded, we can't do it remotely. So normally I would go to Slovenia, make music with him for a couple of days and bake bread and go on hikes. And then he comes to Berlin and we bake bread here and go on hikes. And we make music in these days, and that's missing, of course. Yeah, just on this point of what Frank said, I mean, I've been in this club environment also since a long time, since the early 90s. And when I started as a young techno kid in South Germany, it was really about the experience of being in a club, and it was strobe and fog machine. And there was no mobile phone where you put the photo on whatever online social media channels. So it was purely about dancing. Of course, there were aspects of seeing people and maybe also posing and stuff, but it was really about the music, especially in the beginning, of course, of techno. So I would wish if this aspect, of course, would come back more. So it's more about the music itself. Even thought, yeah, as I said, like I'm always super enjoying when we play our music, and as Frank mentioned before, it's great to make people dance. So when we are somewhere and play and people dance with us, that's the ultimate thing we want, and I hope that we can soon have that again. Simone, now.
We were having this chat together, me and Marcus, and I was saying that maybe the situation will be filtering out all the crap. Do you remember?
Yes.
And then today I was thinking about it again, and maybe it will be just the all way around, the opposite. Maybe just the crap will survive, just the iPhone shots and all that thing, and the real thing will disappear. I don't know. We will see.
It's up to us. It's up to us, Simone.
I guess this brings me on to an interesting point of conversation then, because obviously you guys are all very much kind of pursuing careers as artists and following that path. Do you feel pressurized into being and playing a part in all of that in terms of social media? Because I'm sure that none of you ever got into this for the purpose of doing social media or any of this crap which came with it. So how do you feel about that? And is that something you feel obliged to do?
It's a good one. Maybe Simone, this time you can talk first. Right. It's your topic.
If I heard well, if I feel the pressure of this social media thing, that was the question. Not my case. Yeah. Actually, I'm trying to escape from that thing, which is good commercially, which is not good for your career actually today. But it's not my thing. It's really not my thing. It's actually with my solo. The Facebook page that I have is stuck in 13 or something like that, and
I thought you still have a MySpace page. No,
it's not the question for me. I cannot hear you guys. What did you say?
I thought you still have a MySpace page for that.
Right. Never had that. maybe I should. Is it existing?
I don't know.
Is it?
To be honest.
Yeah, I can try.
I think so.
To open a new account on
Yeah.
MySpace.
Yeah, the future.
Yeah.
Marcus, you want to say something about Instagram?
Oh, it's my what can I say about Instagram? Now I'm doing it because of the sake of communicating and informing people, and I also have to put myself the pressure to do it, and it's not what I do normally want to do. And actually, we also have always a winter break with Keope, where in December it starts, and then until March we don't do anything, and we're completely dead, I think, from the outside.
Have you posted it up?
What posted it up?
That people know that you're dead at that time, or that you're not
actually
communicating.
Not even that. Look, I should have done that. Just this, like, we're not online anymore for the next. It's just a natural thing. It's winter. People are inside.
Keope is closed until March.
Exactly. Yeah. Saisonbetrieb. Yeah. Now I get it. It's for my family business. It was always closed in winter. That's why. Thanks, Frank. Look at that. So yeah, no, it's like, it's not, unfortunately you have to do it. You have to do it, but we enjoy much more, as Simona said, meeting people and meeting Frank and the Bigamo folks, and having good food together and dancing together. It's better than sitting in front of the screen, definitely.
If I might add something, I mean, I used to be on Facebook when it came up. I used to be in MySpace as well. I started with this. And then I got into the Facebook thing, and I actually liked it a little bit. And for me, it's almost like, and Instagram is the same now. I'm not on Facebook anymore that much, but it's like, as soon as it's fun and it's like a bit of a personal tool to communicate, I'm happy with it. But as soon as it comes to strategies, I'm off. I just like I'm sometimes really surprised about how much time people spend into this. But and I mean, I also do it, but it's more for me. It's more fun. Like if I have a story to tell, I tell it. If not, if I have sometimes such weird pictures there. I just, like, when you go through it, it's like, why did I post it up again? But it's like, in the moment, it was okay for me. You know, it was something I think I should share, and I think that's what it's about for me, basically.
Cool. So you still see that there's a role, but it should be on a personal level rather than constantly kind of like pushing the commercial side of things.
I mean, I know for sure that it's important for our business these days. It is. But there's also like the Gegenbeispiel. What's the English word for that? Counter example?
I don't know.
Is that a word? Counter example? Like if you look at, for instance, Helena Hauff, you know, she's like, everybody knows her obviously, but she's not on Instagram on purpose. And I really like that this happens, you know, that it's not necessary. And I also see a lot of people that I think like doing this like too much. It's like, it's so obvious that they're crying for likes and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't need that.
Yeah, well, I guess it's not why anyone ever really got into doing music in the first place.
Probably should not.
Yeah, completely. And so in terms of upcoming stuff, what's happening with the label moving forwards now? Have your plans had to change, etc., over the coming months? Obviously, in terms of music, I'm presuming that you guys at Keope have also had to change your plans over the coming months in terms of recording music and have stuff coming out, etc. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, we are also as Frank in that situation that we have recorded stuff that we can still work on, but it's of course limited. And at the moment, I think for me, it's more preparing. Like preparing maybe technically even more, that I'm, when I meet Simona, maybe more productive in that time. So that's the case. And we are of course finishing some music right now that might be coming this year still. Let's see. But yeah, definitely. I mean, we will see a lack of releases if we don't have the possibility to meet each other again soon. That's unfortunately the outcome of it. But I'm still optimistic that I can take at least a train soon, because I had the news today that maybe they want to close the Tegel airport now immediately, because, or like forever, because they had got the okay for the other airport that nobody believed it will ever open again. So let's see. But maybe there will be no flights anymore.
Now I start missing flying.
The best airport in the world, Tegel Airport. But I was actually passing by with a bike recently at Tegel Airport, and I had this idea of like, wow, imagine if no planes would go anymore. Really, it's the end. That was it. No more flying. It's over. This like period of time is over. That would be amazing. I would love it, because I would take the train to Simone. And I heard from friends it's great to travel via Czechia and Slovakia, go to Austria, and then over the Alps. It takes a day, but I guess it's beautiful. And then, of
You
course,
mean we should buy stock of the Orient Express already?
Yes, I mean, we imagine it's like
Nice.
visiting your partner somewhere in Europe, and I mean, it will be funny when you have to go overseas and take the ship. It's great. I mean,
Who cares to go overseas,
Yes.
right?
what?
Whatever.
Was it a joke again, Simone?
Simone, come on.
Come
Tell us
on.
the
They're,
joke.
they're hammering there.
Hammering.
I
You
would
heard
say,
it?
who cares to go overseas, right?
Come on, it was nice in Mexico last year. Come on.
Yeah, it was okay.
I like that. And in terms, Frank, I think you were working on a festival as well, which you've kind of had to shuffle around too.
Do you hear this hammering in the background?
Yeah, I do.
Oh yeah.
I'm so sorry for that. It's
Your kids.
there's a floor that's going to be installed at the moment here.
Did I hear that you're building a studio?
Yeah.
Is that what's going on?
Well, that's part of it basically. And I thought the works would be finished at that time, because normal workers don't work so long, but they're really nice guys and they are really good, so they work longer than they should. Anyway, I just wanted to say to you guys, you better be quick when you can travel again, because the world needs more Keope music, and then you don't have to discuss so much about arrangements. You just make music, right? Do it.
Right.
Good.
Exactly.
And
I agree.
thank you. And there's also somebody like agreeing. In terms of Bigamo, I mean, we just
stress.
Yeah, we just release a lot of remixes of the stuff we released in the first years, and I'm very happy about this. So this is the one shake hand to the dance floor basically that we do, because there's just like, I mean, I do like to do remixes. I like club music, obviously. So, and then it started actually, I think, with Era doing that edit for you guys, and then we kind of got into asking other friends to make remixes, and now we have this nice package which is coming out in 3 parts. One is already out, the second 2 are coming, the second and the third, and then I believe, I don't know the date, but the next there's going to be an EP coming out from a guy that I met him through other circumstances. It's called El Pagoda, and
great album, by the way.
I think it's
Really
I think
album.
so too. It's like album EP ish. It's like a longer EP basically, this is almost got a pop approach, I would also say, right?
A bit
Can you agree to that?
90s warp. I was also thinking about Plaid and not Boards of Canada, but kind of this mid-90s UK with Warp, of course, reflecting in Scam Records. A Scam, actually, I remember also being a great label, and that somehow when the sound design, the synths and stuff, and the sweetness of the sounds, really, I don't know, I listened to it last night, actually, because Felix from Bigamo sent it to me, and it was beautiful. I was like I'm looking forward to make music with this guy on stage as well. So
Right.
there'll be more people on
Because
stage.
that's another aspect of Bigamo. Like we like to do big sound systems with everybody on stage who's performing. So it started once when we had this nice party at Fluxbau, right? When you guys played, and Fred and Luna and Abrao. And somehow at a certain time, they just decided to make a session together.
Which was the
And
better part. It was the best part of the night, actually.
It was the best part of the night, for sure. And it was actually great. And also a dear friend of mine, Karin, she was just so excited about it next to me in the audience. She's like, I have to go on stage and sing with them. And she went on stage and it went well. So
she kicked Simone from stage.
Did she? Oh.
I don't remember. I remember that I was playing it in between the people, like in the middle of the audience at some point. Maybe because she kicked me out. I don't remember.
Probably. But you always play in the middle of the audience, don't you? And
yeah, well, after that day.
It's a bit of a shame that we had to cancel they had to cancel the X Jazz Festival in Berlin this year because of Corona, because that would have been a really nice jam with you guys, and Joram would have been there, and then Sebastian Müllert, who I do Circle of Life with, would have been part of this too because he was in town and da. So we all like these kind of moments when things happen that are very unpredictable and just because of the time. Or I remember our jam we had at Else 2 years ago. Was it last year, 2 years ago? Then? Last year, I think so too. Also with Abrao and you guys. That's the fun part, and I really enjoy these moments, and that shall always be a big part of Bigamo.
Completely, and that kind of brings us back to the top of the conversation, I guess, really, in terms of where we've come from, full circle, in terms of talking about how those moments of sort of like human interconnectivity and musical collaboration, which occur just naturally in the present moment, quite spontaneously, are kind of what gives the whole thing life to begin with. So yeah, it's interesting to kind of hear how that kind of remains in terms of full circle. But yeah, cool. I think we'll wrap it up there. I'm sure everyone else has had enough listening to us. But, thanks very much for joining us this afternoon. I really appreciate it. And I hope
thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Enjoyed it.
Thanks, man.
Okay. Right.
And I hope we can be having Bigamo parties soon all over the world again with everybody.
Yeah, right.
Because as much as I really enjoy being for ourselves with the family and stuff, I really, like Simone, I miss people around me, more people, and the smile in their faces when they hear nice things and dance hips and stuff.
Exactly. Cool. Okay.
All right.
We'll sign off then. Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Speak soon.
Bye.